Good evening and welcome to the Fitt Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And we are the Fitt Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Well, welcome again, everyone, to a show that is dedicated to providing financial information that can help you improve your wealth and hopefully generational wealth. Now, last week we talked about money lies we tell ourselves, and that was a pretty good one. Got a lot of good responses. So this week we're going to talk about the new year, take control, how to plan to take control of your finances. Before we start, like always, I want to ask everybody to please click on the like button and the heart button. That gives us more traction to more people, exposes us to a greater audience, and put some comments in there. As always, we like for you to give us comments about what we're talking about. You can ask us questions. This is our way that we can interact with you, because we're not just trying to make it us talking to you. We want to make this interactive, and how we do it with this is that you use the comment box. And if you have some other topics that you want us to discuss, please put them in that box. Dope. As always, we like to start off with the top of the show, the number one item at the top of the show, which everybody wants to know, is the stock market.
Yeah, and it's been another crazy week. There had been some positive momentum because the inflation seems to be getting under control. It's gone down, I think, the last 3 months. But the bigger issue is that wages aren't going down as fast as the Fed would like, because there's still a shortage of workers. And when there's a shortage of workers and there's that causes prices to go up, or what employers have to pay to hire people and what they have to pay to keep people. And so right now the market's afraid that that's going to put more pressure on the Fed to continue lowering interest rates, which is kind of put a damper on things right now. So if we take a look at what's going on, you see the Dow in the last week has went down about 1,000 points. Bob has dollar signs, but no, not dollar signs, just 1,000.
It's 1,000 points.
Yeah, about 3%.
I don't know why I got dollars in there, though.
Oh, no big deal. NASDAQ's down just a little because the NASDAQ has been very, very volatile of late, and that's because it's probably more dependent on interest rates, and as any pressure to raise interest rates causes the NASDAQ to take a bigger hit. And so when you start looking at some of the stocks that we talk about, you can see Microsoft's down 7%, $7, almost 3%. I'm sorry. Tesla is actually up. Tesla's been going crazy. We've talked about this for a couple of weeks, and that's more a function of what Elon Musk is doing and what people feel, people feel he's putting his emphasis. But also that electric market really has a lot of people, a lot of companies going in there. So Tesla is having a lot more pressure on them from competitors. Matter of fact, they just had some pretty significant price cuts on their car, which has never happened. They had been pretty much selling at retail, and they come out with these big price cuts. I think some of them were as much as $7,500. And then it's kind of funny, in China, the people who had purchased at full price are actually protesting. They're going to showrooms and protesting and demanding rebates. So we'll have to see how that thing all shakes out. Apple's kind of hung pretty tight. It's up a couple of points in the last week. And Pfizer's taking a hit. Again, we talked about this a little bit last week. They're wondering what's going to be their next big thing as the COVID slows down, what's going to fill that big revenue void from not spending as much money or not generating as much revenue on all the COVID medications that they make. So it's going to continue to be volatile. Deep down the road, probably around June, could be a day of reckoning if the Congress doesn't raise the debt ceiling, and if the U.S. would happen to default on their loans, that could create just a catastrophic effect on the markets. I mean, that would be the first time in the history that the U.S., because basically what it's saying is they can't pay their bills. And right now, you may have heard that they're at that point now, but the Treasury Department has a few things that they can do to kind of keep things going, kind of moving money between drawers to keep everything running as it should. But that's going to run out sometime in the May, June, July timeframe. So if Congress doesn't agree on raising the debt limit, I mean, things could be really, really crazy.
And the thing is, though, if they decide to, not raise the debt ceiling, they usually might not do it for 30 days. The interesting thing, that doesn't change anything. This is debt that has already been paid, been already accumulated. So,
Right, right.
stalling the debt ceiling for 30 days doesn't help nothing.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into politics, but it just appears that the Republicans are using this mechanism of not raising the debt limit as a means to get these huge spending cuts in place, which just to me is ironic because they just passed that huge tax cut back in, what was that, 2017, which
Yeah.
was anything created a deficit, it was that. But anyway, this ain't a politics show, but that's where we are right now. So,
Hey, Dope, gold is getting ready to hit 2,000 an ounce, man. And believe it or not, silver is going up too. Now, gold is at about 1,900 an ounce, but silver is at about $26 an ounce. And I think I got in at $16 an ounce, got over about 70 ounces of silver. And
how much is gold going up since you got in?
say it again.
Well, how much has gold gone up since you got in?
Since I got in at 1,200.
Oh wow! So you're up big time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
that's
that's
cool.
yeah, yeah. And they always say, to have a balanced portfolio is good to have some commodities.
Hmm.
And so let's talk about cryptocurrency market. Dope, for the second week in a row, the market's up. The cryptocurrency market is up. Look at the cryptocurrency market cap. It's now over $1 trillion. It was down to almost in the low. It was in that low, but the high 300 billions. 2 years ago was at 2 trillion. It's back up to a trillion. So something's going on, Dope. Something's going on. It's up 7%. And look at the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin was as low as a couple of weeks ago. It's 16,000. It's up to $21,064 a Bitcoin, up $2,206, up 12%. Last week it was up about 2,000. That's 12% 2 weeks in a row, though. So if people were in there, or if they got in when it was low, they definitely making out now.
Right.
Ethereum, the smart contracts, the number 2 position of all cryptocurrencies. Though, by the way, last year when I did a presentation on cryptocurrency, it was at 18,500 cryptocurrency. As of today, there's what is it? 21,844,000 cryptocurrencies.
That's crazy.
But the interesting thing, though, only 9,000 of them are active, and that's still a lot. But
You know,
Ethereum is up 13%. Tether is still holding. Dogecoin is still holding at the number 9 position. Tether is still at the 3rd, and that's the stable coin, which is backed by a dollar. And some people say that's not fully true. It's backed by a dollar, and some of it they backing it by assets, but it's not totally sometimes dollar for dollar. But that's what it's supposed to be. That's what the USDT supposed to stand for. Dogecoin has been holding. Um, it got 14%. It's been holding, and Shiba Inu has went. This is one of those meme coins, which is so interesting that it went up from the 16th position to the 15th position. It keeps just volatile, going up and down, up and down. and it's up a bit. So that's uh, that's it for the cryptocurrency, right? So don't
Volatile market, my brother.
say it again.
Volatile market. That's for sure.
Yeah, but remember, it's all about the long play. All about the long play. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. And just want to make sure I get this disclaimer out there. Um, so, Dope, this week our topic is about taking control of your finances. Before we get into it, ladies and gentlemen, we want to share with you an article that just came out on the CNBC website that we think is so interesting because we talk about it all the time that what you know, what you don't know can hurt you. And it's so important to empower yourself with knowledge so that you can control your money. It's all right to have a financial advisor. It's all right to have a stockbroker, but it's very important that you know for yourself. And this article lends itself to what we talked about. The name of the article is Lack of Financial Literacy Costs 15% of the adults at least $10,000 in 2022. I mean, I think that's worth talking about, Dope. So it says a report from the National Financial Educators Council, which my certification as a financial educator comes from, shows that 38% of individuals in a recent survey said that their lack of financial literacy cost them at least $500 in 2022. That's 38% of the people, though, including 15% who said they by them having a lack of financial information, it set them back $10,000, and that's up from 11% in 2021. Now the average cost was $1,819 according to the survey, which was conducted between October 23rd and December the 5th. It was about 3,000 adults across the country, and that 2022 figure is nearly $500 higher than the average of $1,389 in 2021. So when we talk about financial literacy, let's get it straight. We generally mean understanding money topics ranging from in the categories of income, budgeting, savings, and investing, and as well as interest rates and how they work and why credit card scores matters. And lacking amongst many U.S. adults, this study shows that there is definitely a gap. So let me share. I want to share one of the graphs that they have here to depict what they were talking about, and it's very insightful. So this graph here shows how much did lack of financial literacy cost people in 2022. For most people in the United States, it was less than $500. That's 62% of people, because they lack financial information, it cost them about $500 just for the lack of information. And then the next level is 7% of the people lost between $500 and $1,000. And then look at the bottom, 15%. I think that's such an alarming number, though. 15% of the people, because of lack of financial information, lost $10,000. So when it comes to money matters, what you don't know can hurt you. But we're going to get more in depth about that. We're going to talk about that in another show coming up. But we just wanted to share that with you a little bit so that you can, think about that, because it's so important. Knowledge is power. So, Dope, let's get into today's show.
Yeah, it's a new year, Bob, and everybody is excited. Holiday fanfare is all over. It's it's perfect time. It's the ideal time to set your money goals. Okay, and especially if you got all those bills coming, all those gifts you bought, and all the traveling you did over the holidays, you might need to get your finances in shape. So this is the perfect time to do it. And if you go to the gym everybody knows how crowded the gym gets in January and somewhat so in February. But by March, all those people are gone. And so, and that's typically what happens with people setting money goals. And right now, everybody's so motivated to solve every single aspect of their financial life, and they're gung ho about it. But then something called life happens, and that daily grind, and you might get a bill you don't expect, and fall by the wayside. And so you just like the folks in the gym, you really excited, then it much goes away. So what we're going to talk about is how you can get on top of things, stay on top of things. And so this time next year, you'll be in a much better financial position. Now, that's notwithstanding things like inflation or wars or the debt ceiling crisis or whatever happens. Those are things you can't do anything about. But there are some things in your financial life that you can do to get yourself straight and ready to put yourself in a better position next year.
So taking control of your finance can be easier said than done. Now, if you're new to working on your finances, you may not know just where to start. So to help you start your money journey, we're going to discuss some financial money goals to hopefully make your 2023 your best year ever. So how can you improve your financial planning? Well, it comes down to accepting that you won't have, first, accepting that you may not have the time or energy to complete every task to perfection. So creating a system where you can prioritize and especially planning ahead and hold yourself accountable will definitely help.
Yeah, now the first thing you got to do, we often talk about building wealth, creating generational wealth. But the first thing we think you ought to do is protect the wealth you have. Make sure you don't have any holes that can erode what you've already accumulated. And so you got to set a goal to, you can think about things like setting goals to trim miscellaneous stuff from your budget, like the subscriptions you don't need and things of that sort. And those are all well and good. But more importantly, look at things like make sure your finances don't get hacked. If you want to freeze your credit, freeze your credit so nobody can access your credit. And that way, one way to make sure you aren't subject to identity theft. It's free to do, and plus it might encourage you to not want to charge anything or create any new accounts. But that's a little step you can make just to say nobody can open any new accounts under my name. Next thing you might want to do is make sure your insurance coverages are adequate for your particular situation. A lot of homes have inflation riders on the policies, but some don't. So check to make sure your house insurance is adequate for the value that your house has increased. Okay, so make sure you're looking at that you are covered. This is also the time to look at your estate plan. Hopefully you'll be here this time next year, but maybe you won't. And so you need to plan like you may not be. So you might do something like create your will, create your trust, look and putting things in the right place so they'll be easy to find if there's an emergency. And I know it's hard for people to do, but it's something that truly needs to be done. And finally, paying attention to spending, that's always important, and if you really want to be in a better spot this time next year than you are right now, that's one of the most important things you can do is look at your spending, make sure you aren't spending money on something that you don't need to spend money on, make sure your money's protected, and then move on to the year.
Next, you need to focus on what actually matters to you. Now, so many people have money goals born out of social pressure. They say you should, and that's a word that I just totally despise. Despise. You should want to save up to own a home, or even if you're happily renting, you should sacrifice short-term needs and wants to stash away as much as possible for retirement, even though it leaves you feeling deprived. But money goals should be tied to the things that matter most to you. Excuse me. That matters most to you. Uh, one of the things is if you don't know what goals to choose, start with your values. Because some of us have financial goals, but are your goals actually aligned with your values? Like what's more important to you? Is your kid going to college, or is you know having your retirement ready, or making sure your estate plan is together? All these things are important. So you can combine goal setting with a little planning, so expenses are less likely to creep up on you throughout the year. Now think about what expected costs will be coming like in the next 6 to 12 months, like recurring bills, vacations, anticipated home or car repairs, and other expenses. This approach can allow you, to set aside some money so that you can, be prepared and have some long-term goals established.
And you can set all the goals you want, but if you don't hold yourself accountable, you probably won't accomplish them. I mean, as I mentioned before, once you get into the grind of the year or the grind of that thing called life, it's too easy to forget about your goals, you know. And so one way to do that is to write your goals down. Keep them out in front of you. Look at them every day. Just a reminder to stay on the path that you should. Put it on the refrigerator, on your online calendars. But set up some sort of reminder so you can see this is what you're trying to do to put yourself in a better position. And if you have time sensitive goals, like you want to save for vacation, or Christmas comes every year, or certain birthdays you want to save for, then you might have multiple lists that show what you're actually working on or what you're saving for. And it may have a specific time frame, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. Another thing that always works is to get other people involved. If it's a family member or if it's your family, sit down as a group and hold everybody accountable. Or if you have a trusted friend and you want to just talk to them about it, it's a lot easier to work towards something when you know somebody's looking at you. It's like going to work out with a gym partner. You're more likely to go if you have somebody to go with. Well, it's the same thing with money. If you have someone else that you're working with, that you're talking to, and you explain your goals to them, you don't want to let somebody else down. You'll probably let yourself down before you let a trusted friend down. So only way to make this thing happen is to hold yourself accountable and really commit to doing it.
You need to recognize when done is better than perfect. Now, let me say that again because that sounds pretty tricky. Recognize when done is better than perfect. What this means that it's easy to get stuck on decision making mode when trying to pick a high yield savings account, a credit card, a reward card, or possible investments. But you need to make a good enough choice. Now, taking the action now can have more of a positive effect on your life than waiting until you painstakingly consider the perfect option. Now, though you may prefer to optimize every decision, you may not, because if you did, you probably wouldn't get things done. Like they always say, everything in moderation is one of the things to live by. Going to the extremes in any one of these things could be a detriment to the things that are important, because this just doesn't work with long-term planning. You got to look at all the things, and you need to stop. Some people I know got to have this, things just right, but you need to really look at what's important to you.
The next thing you got to do is make sure you're increasing your credit score. Okay. And the reason you do that, because the higher your credit score, obviously, the more likely you are to get approved for a loan. But more importantly, a lot of times it's tied to lower interest rates. And that can save you money, the lower interest rate you pay. Again, that's another one of those costs that people don't realize, and it's avoidable. If you have a better credit score, you usually get a better rate. And I mean, obviously, the easiest way to boost your credit score is pay your bills on time. If you aren't automating that, make sure you set that up that they're automatically paid on time. And if you're late or you miss one, it can have such a huge effect. So make sure you have that automatic payment set up. And There's other things you can do. You can, reduce your debt or reduce the amount you owe on a specific credit card or any specific loan you have. You can also increase your credit limit. Okay, if that's possible, you can diversify your credit count by getting more credit accounts. Now, we're not encouraging you to run out and get a whole lot of debt, but if that will help you get your credit limit, your credit score up, then it's okay to do. And it's a little more difficult to increase the age of your credit history. That typically comes with time. But finally, and we've reminded you about this before, is get your free credit report and make sure there's not anything out there that doesn't look wacky. As we told you, there are three basic credit bureaus. There's Equifax, there's TransUnion, and there's Experian. Each of those are required to give you a free credit report once a year. Now, we always suggest that you get one from each one every 4 months. So January, you go get your Experian. Okay, come April, you go get your TransUnion. And then come August, you go get your whichever one, TransUnion, whichever one I didn't say. But you get one every 4 months to keep you on top of what's going on in your credit life. And simple as that. That's another step just to make sure you got things going in the right direction.
And I just want to give note to you. A lot of people go, man, what good is us getting those free credit reports when they don't give you a credit score? You have to pay for the credit score. But this is the thing. You don't need a credit score. All you need to do is look at the risk factors. And the risk factors are there. If you're 30, 60, 90 days, that's a risk factor. And you know your credit score is going to go up. If you have the debt to ratio, your credit card, your utilization rate, if it's over 30%, you will see that. And if it's around 50, 60, 70%, that is a risk factor. So it can be beneficial to you without having numbers, because there are all kinds of risk factors. If you have too many hard inquiries, you know your score is going to be taken down. So look at that. If you have information on there that is not, credit that you generated, that's going to bring your score down too. So it does have, it's a great tool to use. Now, since we're on the credit cards, let's talk about maximizing your credit card rewards. Now, I know there are plenty of financial experts who swear up and down that credit cards are evil, are just bad, and no one should ever use them. As of someone who has credit card debt, I understand where they will have that argument coming from. But I also completely disagree. Now, let me preface this by saying, if you know you can't control your spending with a credit card and you continue to grow your balance, ignore this step. Put, put your ears on closed and stop using credit cards. But if that's not a problem for you, then find a way to maximize your credit card rewards. We talked about this before. Some cards offer some really awesome rewards. And this year, you can sit down and come up with a strategy for how you use your credit cards to maximize your rewards. The most important thing, though, is remember this. The most important thing of this strategy is that you pay your balance off every single month so that you're never paying interest. When's the last time you paid interest on your credit card?
Like never, man.
I
Never.
can't tell you the last time I paid interest on my credit card. Pay them off.
And
If
the
you
other
can.
thing, a lot of the credit cards have offers. And just on Amex in 2022, I say $435 in just offers. Now, what's an offer? That's when they'll send a coupon that says, okay, if you go to Under Armour and spend $50, we'll give you a $10 credit. And so I'm not encouraging anybody to go spend, but if you're going to go buy, if Under Armour is where you shop and you're going to buy something anyway, then use that particular credit card. I think I've told you, I've go through great lengths to. There's a credit card I use for every particular purpose. I use one for gas. I use one at Amazon and Whole Foods. I use Amex at my Hilton hotels. And I maximize every credit card transactions. Somebody gives me something. I don't use it. I don't spend anything, and somebody not gives me something back. And I generate a lot in money that I wouldn't ordinarily get. And so at the beginning of the show, Bob was talking about that money you lose from being financial illiterate. That's one of the ways you lose money, is not taking advantage of things that are available that people do just as a matter of course of their life. People, I mean, I do that. I use credit cards, I think, wisely. I don't pay interest. Somebody gives me money and I use the highest possible reward for every penny I spend.
But
So
but like
definitely,
those, but remember this: if you keep growing your credit card balance, don't you listen to a word we just said. This only applies if you are responsible. And Doug, I just want to add this about the rewards cards, because this is what people don't understand, though. If you don't use, and look, we just are giving suggestions. If you don't want to use reward cards, that's on you. But this is just another way that you can save money. But if you don't use the reward card, this is a fact, then the people that do are getting the benefit. If you use your reward card and paying cash, that means you're not getting the benefit. And the people who do, and think about this, when you charge your card, the Visa people, right? They are being charged by the retailers 3%. If you're not using a reward card, I guarantee you that 3% that they're charging those retailers have that baked into the prices of the products they selling. So it comes back to you paying more.
yeah.
So
You
just want to share
make,
that.
you know, make sure you know what your cards have available for you. Every card has offers. So
And
make sure you know
they're
what.
not the same. Some of them not giving you point, and some of them just give what is it though? It's not points. They give you bonus or something. I can't. I got to bring like what it's. You get the points, or you get oh God, what is it, like credits, and that's different than getting like a
Oh
1.5.
yeah, yeah. Like my Amazon card, they give you a choice. You can take the reward and you can have it put in your checking account. You can have it to use in Amazon as Amazon points, or you can use it to credit your bill. But I always use it. I always give me cash, and then I'll go buy what I want to buy
Yeah,
with.
that's what I sort of like though. That's what I was trying
Yeah.
to say.
Okay. The next item, as far as getting ready for next year, is picking up a side hustle. Now, let's make sure we know what a side hustle is. That's not the same as a job. Okay. It's less. Most people want to hear about is the second job where you got two bosses to deal with, a different schedule you got to work around. No, a side hustle could be something that you have a passion for, that you enjoy doing, that you might want to consider, eventually going into a business. And some of it might be rewarding. I know my one son loves soccer, and he referees soccer, and he enjoys it, and he makes good money doing that. And so sit down and figure out how you can do that to come up with some extra money. And if it's something you have a passion for, you'll probably be pretty good at it. So instead of just doing a hobby and not making any money, see if you can get paid for doing something that you like to do. Whether it's if you like working on cars, if you like shopping, maybe you can be a shopper. What do they call those people that shop for people? It's a whole lot of things you can look at, but you got to sit down and figure out what you're good at, what you have a passion for, and then think about what people might pay you. And that's another way for you to get some extra income in your pocket. And you might have time to do it, and you might end up enjoying it. You might want to start a business doing it. Okay. So sit down, think about it. Another way to come up with some extra money, and you might find something that you just have a passion for that you can make money doing.
Yeah, having another income stream is so important to building wealth, especially with things costing so much and salaries staying flat. So really think about that.
It could be any. My side hustle was teaching school back when this was back in the 80s and 90s. And I always enjoyed that. And again, it got me some extra money. And I just like that environment of education. But figure out what works for you and what you can make some extra money doing, something that, and it, again, that's different than a second job because I usually enjoy going to that because I enjoyed that environment of teaching. And so find out what works for you.
Now, this one is a little touchy, but listen clearly. Negotiate a pay increase. Now, we know asking for a raise at work may seem like a simple goal. After all, it's just a conversation with your boss, right? That said, statistics show that a large percentage of people are intimidated to ask for money. Isn't that something? Yes, asking for a raise can be nerve wracking, but there's nothing wrong with asking for higher pay. And check this out, to match the hard work you're doing day in and day out. Now, if you be honest with yourself, if you're not putting in the work, uh, stop that foolishness. But if you truly believe you're worth more than you're making, you shouldn't feel nervous, ashamed, or embarrassed about asking for a raise. Not only can negotiating the raise help you earn more money, but it will change your whole income projection. It will make your money, it'll help you make more money over the long term, which you then are able to set aside more money for retirement. So when asking for a raise, make sure you do the background research and understand what the average salary for your position is for all these people out there in private world. But also, if you're working in the government, you should also know the steps and what that actual salary would be. You should also know as well as put together a list of accomplishments and successes that you had in your job. Now, we know your manager should know all about the hard work you've been putting in, but let's be honest, we all get busy and we quick to forget recent events, especially human beings. We some forgetful people, especially with the fast-paced work environment these days. So look, share that research with your boss to show him why you deserve a pay increase.
And Bob, you hit the point, but I just want to reiterate, you get a pay raise, you get way more than that because your obviously your salary goes up, but so does the company match, so does your bonus, so does your social security payment. A lot of things, just that one little raise has a trickle effect on a lot of other aspects of your financial life. So any money you add is more than just that particular instance. There's other ways that puts money in your pocket. So make sure.
Joe, we got a couple of people out here that says, I never had a problem asking for a raise. That's Maddie. What's up, Maddie? Maddie said, and Joanne Skinner said the same thing. I agree 100%. But you got, and look, you know what they say, a closed mouth can't get fed.
And Bob, know what the ramifications are of your job, or the next level, what you got to do to get to the next level. All those things involve making more money. But a lot of times we don't know and we don't ask. And we talked about this a few shows back. We're happy. We might be paid a really good salary, but we still might be underpaid, but we're happy because we think we are doing okay. Make sure you understand how much you should be making and then make sure you're making that. That's for sure.
And make sure
Okay,
you're
next up.
doing the work to make that.
Oh, yeah. And we've talked about this before, but this is an investing plan. You got to have an investing plan. We always strongly believe in a long play and making sure you are invested. We've talked about how the S&P have done over the long time, and you got to be putting money away, and you got to be finding a way to be planning for the future. And that's the best way to build wealth. You're not going to do it putting money in a savings account or a checking account. It's just not going to happen. You got to figure out how much a month you can put away. And, we gave you examples of how much, if you save X, how much you'll have if you're trying to generate $1 million, and how important it is to start as soon as you can. And we talked about the value of compounding. The sooner you put that money in, the faster it can grow for you. So get started and continue to increase that. We always talked about paying yourself first before you pay anybody else, your bills, your whatever else you got to pay. Make sure you put some money away for you. So if you end up leaving that job for whatever reason, you got something to show for having worked there for X amount of time. And remember, the longer you leave it in, the more money you're going to have. So, and a lot of times you think about saving in for your 401k, for retirement. But there's also, short-term goals you can do, and you might set up a separate brokerage account to save for vacation, to save for college, to save for that new house, to save for that new car. But unless you sit down, come up with an investment plan, come up with some specific amounts you want to put aside, it won't happen. So I strongly encourage you to do that.
Now, this next one may seem not that important to you, but like we said, what you don't know can hurt you. So you should consider reading a personal finance book. Now, choose a personal finance book to read. There are so many to choose from. Some have become bestsellers and definitely has helped a lot of people. Now, of course, no personal finance book can turn things around for you. You still have to do the work. Like me and Doug always talk about, you got to put the effort in. You got to put the effort in. But these books can give you the steps and the motivation to help you turn your finances around for yourself. Even if you don't like to read, I encourage you to read at least one personal finance book this year. The sooner the better.
And not only finance books, but make sure you pick up some other publication, or you go to the finance section every day and try to learn something new every month about financing. That when we talk about the money that's lost to the lack of financial literacy, it'll hit you that not knowing costs you money. You just aren't aware of how much money is costing you by not knowing. And the more information you have, the better decisions you make, the better opportunities you'll find to take advantage of. So put the time in, make it part of your life to understand your financial situation. And go ahead, Bob.
Now, if you truly despise reading, try listening to an audio book on Audible, or those audio books on Kindle while you're driving to work, walking on a treadmill, or even cooking in the kitchen. Now, just want to suggest a couple of books. There's so many out there, and not that these are any preference over any other ones, but they are good. A lot of people heard of Dennis Kimbrough, who's an alpha, but he has a book called The Wealth Choice, which is an excellent book. And then there's The Psychology of Money, another good book by Morgan Housel, Housel. And then the all-time great, which is called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, written in 1932. But today, that book is still one of the best sellers because the information in there is so pertinent to today. But just don't limit yourself to that. Like Doe said, go out there and there's so much online, just like, a lot of information we get, like information we use in the day from Kiplinger. There's so many other places to get information on. If you got Apple, you got Apple News in the financial section. So please enrich yourself with the information.
Yeah, and also be careful with what you read. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of people out there. Make sure you're listening to somebody that's reputable. Like we talked about, we've quoted things from Suze Orman, and I'll just say her target audience is more, I'll say, people who are just getting started and not really sophisticated. Well, we also talked about Dave Ramsey. I think he's more middle class. But if you want to talk about folks who think like rich people, then you get into the Warren Buffetts. But just make sure you're reading somebody that's reputable, because you can find any information out there that'll say anything you want it to say. If you were to Google why I shouldn't invest in stocks, you could probably find 100 articles which could convince you why you should not invest in stocks, but you could probably find 10 times that many telling you to invest in stocks. So just make sure it's reputable. If you have a broker that you're using, they should be supplying you with information. I mean, I use Fidelity, and I get once a week, I'll get opportunities to listen to podcasts or get publications just to expand my knowledge. And we've talked about this before. That's something that is not part of our everyday life, but it should be. And I'm not saying be money hungry and that's the only thing you think about, but it's too important not to be up on how to keep your wealth going in the right direction. Okay, and the final thing we're going to talk about, just to show you we don't want you to just spend all your time studying. You got to plan for fun. You can't just work and save money. I mean, that's not going to work for anybody. So make sure you have some fun goals, and when you set your budgets, make sure you put something in there to reward yourself for the hard work you're doing, and that'll keep you from giving up on the gym, quote unquote, too early. If it's a vacation, make sure you squeeze that in your budget. If it's a big screen TV or a boat or any other thing, make sure you have that in your plan. You just can't work hard and say that's not a life for anybody. And if you're working towards something, that might help keep your long-term focus of saving for retirement or saving for college or saving for whatever big you're saving. If every now and then you treat yourself to something that you really, really want to enjoy.
So that's a lot. As always, we have 50 pounds in a 50 pounds of knowledge in a 10-pound bag. But we're going to help reiterate what we talked about, and we're going to go to summary and takeaways and try to summarize a lot of that we talked about today. All right, Dope, you take it away.
Okay. You got to plan. We've talked about this. You got to plan to succeed. If you don't plan, you won't get anywhere. Now is the perfect time to do it. Take a look and say, I'm going to make sure I'm controlling the things I can control. And next year, I'm going to be in a better spot than I am this year, as far as my knowledge, as far as my wealth, as far as how I'm doing. I'm going to plan to succeed.
Build your wealth and protect your wealth. I mean, it's one thing to build your wealth, but there's another thing to protect it because, I mean, just twofold. There's so many scammers out there. Identity theft is big. And then there's so many people out there trying to get that extra dollar out your pocket, trying to move your assets from your general ledger over to theirs. So it's important. And the whole talk about planning is about building wealth, you all. We talk about appreciating assets. That's when we talk about building wealth. But you must also protect it with you're looking at your insurance policies, your estate plans, your spending. All of this pertains to building your wealth and protect your wealth.
Yeah, prioritize what's important to you. There's no one way of doing this that fits everybody. You have to look at your own particular situation and determine what's best for you. And you're going more likely to be committed to it if it's geared to what you're trying to accomplish and what you want to do. You got to not look at what other people are doing and compare their situation to yours, because you don't know what they started with. Maybe they had an inheritance to start with. Maybe they won a lottery. You don't know. Look at your own situation, think about what's important to you, and go from there.
And think about increasing your income. Because if your expenses are greater than your income, you only have a couple of options, and that one of them is to make more income. And even if it isn't, the more income you have, the better you're able to build and get a good nest egg for your retirement. We talked about the side hustle. Like we said, it's not a second job. It's not a boss. It's something that you like doing, something that you have the skills to do. But increasing your income is one of the number one stages of being able to keep you and get you out of debt.
And finally, enjoy life.
Yes.
Take the time to do your plan, to cut your spending, to put money away. But as I mentioned before, prioritize something that you want to have and make that part of your budget. And all this is geared toward helping you have a happy life.
So there you have it. That's the summary of what we talked about today. We know that's a lot, but it's a lot out there to have to think about. But we hope we enrich your knowledge today. Remember, we're here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, share this information with your friends, your family, and others, because this is not just for you. This is for so many other people. We always talk about the wealth gap amongst Black people. Yes, racism and things like that is still alive and well. But another point of why we have such a wealth gap is the poor financial decisions that we make. So if you plan and if you share the information, we can definitely overcome all these different obstacles when it comes to finances. So, as we always do, though, we got some wonderful comments from people. Want to give a shout out. What's up, Tommy Thompson? My man, glad to see you made it on, Tommy. Garnett Nickens, Joanne Skinner, Rodney Madison, the noteexperience.com. Check them out there, y'all, for another particular alternative for investments. Linda Sy, my sister. How are you, darling? Maddie Ford, another one of my co-workers. And Joanne. Yeah, said Joanne. What's up, Joanne? Garnett, how are you doing, dear? She said, thanks for the list of books. You're so welcome. Hey, Kevin Sessions, how are you? Glad you appreciate it. And
California.
oh yeah, California. Oh man, there was that 3 hour difference, and we got people on from England, by the way. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Like we always say, please put comments into your box, into the comment box, and we always welcoming other ideas, other topics that you'd like for us to talk about. So please tune into that. So let's go, y'all. The new year, let's take control, because this is our motto here at the Fitt Show. Don't let your money control you. You control your money. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.